People getting divorced,
tearing their families apart, coasting through marriage.
or fighting their way through it. I'm Cass.
And I'm Kathryn.
We came back from the depths of hell to save our abusive, our toxic marriage.
We're Morrow Marriage.
Let's flip divorce statistics with the new marriage. All right, why your partner disrespects you and how you have the power to influence a different lifestyle, a different adventure for your marriage. Now, we thought this would be fun. By the way, this is our first episode of our podcast. We're getting the content going, so we're super excited. But we thought it would be fun to tackle this for you guys because I put out a reel that many people got pretty upset about. And it was really about a comment that, well, first we should say this. A 35-second or 45-second clip, people should not form such a massive opinion about it. You should ask questions first, which, by the way, will help you in your marriage, but we'll cover that another day. So the reel was really about this. It said, one day after we lost everything with COVID, so our home, well, our business first, then our home, our vehicles, our possessions, we even got evicted from the place we were living at while we were trying to rebuild our life. And Kathryn said something to me. She said, you'd be more manly if you made more money. Now, the part that you guys did not get to hear was about how bad our marriage was prior to that, leading up to that, and how we were only just beginning to learn to communicate without my anger, number one. Number two, that was at a time where I was in a course, and I didn't remember this, she actually reminded me, and we'll explain that too, but I was in a course where the instructor said, you'd be more manly if you made more money. That's what providers do. And I guess because I felt like such a victim because the government shut gyms down. We lost our gym after 22 years. That really impacted me because deep down my self-worth, I wasn't feeling validated, I wasn't feeling good, I wasn't feeling strong enough, and I was working my butt off to rebuild and wasn't there yet. And so when I said that to Kathryn, your initial reaction wasn't actually saying you'd be more manly. Yeah, what did you say?
I said, well, it's true.
Like, because
I never would have said anything. So a little bit more of the backstory is, yes, he was working, trying to rebuild, trying to do something different, trying to find his passion. I was still keeping the fitness and nutrition business alive, applying for the loans that came with COVID and going through all of the financial side of things. And I was pregnant with Riddick at the time, right?
Yeah.
And I was pregnant with Riddick.
Twins
I had
running around.
1-year-old baby girl twins.
Well, crawling around.
Well, they would have been running around. And I was managing finances. I'm actually better at managing finances anyway.
It's true.
But I was managing the finances, and so I had all of that stress on me, which that's what we chose. That's what we wanted to do while he was trying to rebuild. And I never would have said anything about money and about, because he was working very hard. But when this coach said to him, you need to be a provider, that's what men do, it's manly. He said it to me, and he was a little bit offended that the coach said that, and I agreed with the coach. I said, well, it's true. I never would have attacked him that way. I just said it is true, and I, rather than being empathetic and saying, you know, honey, you're working really hard, I'm really stressed, I just said, well, you should be making money. I was at a point where I never should have said it the way that I did, without empathy, without compassion.
But I actually spurred that on. So because, so I talk about the nice guy a lot, right? And Kathryn would call us nice assholes.
Assholes.
So the nice guy thing is a thing. And it really means we're looking for validation, looking for approval. We need to know we're good enough, okay? And at the time, I was into my journey, but nowhere near where I've become as the man today. And
now he's an actual nice guy.
Yeah.
Not a nice asshole.
And so essentially what happened was my self-worth, my self-value was so devalued in that moment because I don't know if I couldn't tell you if I was expecting her to, no, he's totally wrong. Or what? Probably, because I don't think it would have mattered if I didn't feel good enough because I wasn't making money and I was working a lot. I felt like I was wasting time, I was spinning my wheels and stuff. So now let's get to the disrespect part, because that's where it happened, where everybody got upset on social media with the reel, where automatically the statement came out and why, okay? So Kathryn did say, well, you would be more manly if you made more money. And I'm sure it was just firm and assertive, because it's something we both believe, right? And why? Because I started to feel like life sucking, life draining, because I wasn't feeling good enough. I started to lecture her. I started to tell her about all the things that I was doing. I told her about all the ways that I was working, how little I was sleeping, all of these things that made me such a great guy to prove to myself that I was a good guy. And of course, that's defensive and attacking. And I'm sure you'd remember more than I would, but I'm sure I probably blamed you for not doing enough with work and whatever. And it was my gym to start before we even met. I'm sure all this crap came. So the thing about disrespect, guys, and this is so important because everybody, you tell me what women in your program are like, but the men in my program, man, they get, same guys on social media, they get so victimized. How could you dare disrespect me? I'm entitled to this respect. I deserve this respect. Do you get that a lot from women too?
Not quite.
No?
The women in my program, they do talk about how their husband is not respecting them, but it's not to the same extent. And we shut it down pretty quickly because once I show the women that their husband is just lashing out of different pain, the anger is not the primary emotion. The anger is the emotion that's showing, but really there's fear, there's insecurities, all these things. But the women that I work with just never thought of it that way. It took me years to learn it, so I don't expect the women to know that until they tell them.
Exactly.
But they don't come in saying, my husband doesn't respect me. It's more of a softer, my husband calls me names. My husband is mean to me. My husband doesn't speak to me. My husband doesn't make eye contact with me.
They don't call it straight out as.
No.
Okay, yeah. Well, the men do. Men have this thing where they deserve respect, Kathryn. And here's the thing. There's all kinds of these underlying situations that command disrespect, okay? Let's go to that reel I had. Every time I post this, it does pretty well. And it's like, the sticky note example, how you just didn't believe how much I loved you. It was 1,000 sticky notes all over the house and she just didn't believe that I loved her. Why? Because I had disrespected her for so long before Kathryn ever spoke to me, elevated. And you think about this if you're a man listening, man watching, you think about this, your wife didn't just start disrespecting you. If she did, let's use that on the first date and you dated her again, you didn't have a boundary for yourself, you weren't aware, then you actually enabled the disrespect from the beginning. But let's use the real thing, because you probably wouldn't have gone on a second date. You'd have gone on more dates, and then as things progressed, you potentially felt a little shitty. Your validation and approval got replaced with some needs not being met. You felt defensiveness, and so you started to do things differently. And eventually, you have to protect yourself, right?
Well, I certainly did.
Yeah, you certainly did. And so, another really great example is cheating. So disrespectful that you cheat. We don't condone cheating. We think cheating is ridiculous.
And by the way, neither one of us has ever cheated.
That's right.
Someone brought it up the other day.
Did they?
A client had approached one of my coaches and said, Cass has a reel where he said he cheated on Kathryn. No, he has never, and neither have
Absolutely
I.
do not.
It's just not something that's
Neither of us
part of either one of
believed
us. We don't believe in it, and even the people that do it, a lot of the people that do it don't believe in it. You get yourself in a precarious situation and it happens. It just hasn't happened to us, and we're really diligent about making sure that it doesn't. So we know that people that cheat, they don't necessarily want to cheat sometimes, but it's just not something that's in our...
Yeah, and
we have a lot in our history. That's just not one of those
That's
things.
just not one of our things, but...
Sorry for interrupting.
It's okay, man. So, yeah, I really take this approach with cheating after working with so many men that it's quite simple. If she's not looking at you, a lot of the other disrespectful things that were in place first with respect were undermined. So when you stopped caring as much, stopped listening, every time you piggybacked off what she was saying, how's your day, babe? And then you just started talking about work. The same conversation, by the way, every single day. I did that a lot. When you are starting to raise your voice, when you start name calling in disagreements or fights, when you threaten divorce, all of these things break the emotional connection that was an unwritten rule before the moral code with cheating. Because you never would have got to the point where she cheated on you if you didn't follow through when there was no wall between you.
Moral code or Morrow code?
Oh, Morrow code.
Ooh, good one. Yeah. Whoop, prayer 5. I want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
So if your husband cheated on you, I will never say that it's your fault that your husband cheated. However, there are steps that happened. There's something called the cascade to betrayal. There's 24 steps. There's all kinds of things that happen before your husband cheats. So while no, you can't take responsibility for your husband cheating, if you trace it back a few steps, there is a level of disconnection that you 100% can take responsibility for. Is it your fault that your husband cheated? No, that's an issue that he has. However, if you trace it back to when that disconnection started, you can then start taking some responsibility. That's where you're able to make changes, and that's where you're going to be able to impact the entire rest of your marriage.
Yeah, I take a different approach with men because men just need to get over it, because I need them looking at problem number one, right? Problem number two is morals, and we can address that. But I can tell you this, with the marriages that we've seen, this level of disrespect, it's pretty unique. It's pretty special when you can tell your partner is so into you, edifying you, adoring you, lusting after you. You don't think about that. Now, will there be insecurities you have to work through? Absolutely. That's not like you'll get triggered, but insecurity is a monster. We have that scheduled coming up here in the next few episodes. But like insecurity is a monster anyways. But even without cheating in our marriage, I certainly had the insecurity that I had to deal with.
Well, you were sure I was cheating.
Oh my gosh. And I literally would put out all the same problems that pushed you away, which caused, the 7 separations and all these different times we were going to get divorced and all these. So, guys, I really want to keep this super simple for you as an ending thought. Disrespect doesn't just occur. Things happened, just like the cascade of betrayal that Kathryn was just talking about. Things happened that allowed this to come out from either side. Typically, you both disrespected. And then at some point, you're like, this level of disrespect is too much. I tell guys like when she kicks you in the balls, but at some point it got there, which means even if it wasn't from the very beginning too early on and you enabled it then, you enabled it along the way by not controlling and taking responsibility of your own actions, your own response versus reaction, your own emotions, and being proud of the person that you want to be.
And women, you may not know, you may not have recognized that you've been blatantly disrespecting your husband, but it might not be a case of disrespect. Eventually you might get pushed to disrespect, but it probably is a case of a lack of respect, or a lack of respect in a way that your husband needed, which is something that we see every day. So you might not necessarily know that you blatantly disrespected your husband. I didn't know that I was disrespecting him, but by not giving him the respect he needed and wanted and craved as a man, it felt disrespecting to him, which is one of the reasons that he turned into the monster, if I can say that, turned into, which then in turn made me extremely disrespectful. So although I didn't think I was blatantly disrespectful in the beginning, my husband used to say, you're just doing it differently, and I didn't understand. It's because I wasn't giving my husband the love and the respect that he needed and that you deserved, ultimately. And you certainly do now.
Well, thank you, baby.
Yeah.
So practical solutions or something, systems that you can put in place today. Okay, so if you're a man, let's say you feel disrespected because she's upset with you for how you load the dishwasher. Just say thanks, babe. I'll use a real life example. I forget to lock the door a lot of times at night. That's because I'm a big protector. But Kathryn has reminded me, I don't know how many times, and she's never been disrespectful, but something like this would obviously be a reason that I have been perpetuating the situation to where she could be frustrated one day and say,
lock the door.
Exactly.
That might happen actually if you don't get it together. Not really. So but that's what he's trying to say.
Exactly. And so practical things are gratitude, right? Thank your partner for the reminder. Thank you for the accountability, right? Listen, it might not feel like that. It might feel terrible. And maybe she did kick you in the balls. At that moment, she said it. Okay, you never take the trash out. And you literally just took the trash out. This is a real-time example men come to me with all the time, okay? But it means that there's other things that are going on. Or she just literally sees the trash can full because it's always been full. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Thank her. Give gratitude in all these other situations in life and treat her with the level of respect. And here's how I teach guys to do that. I don't know if you do this, but who do you want to be? What would you guys be doing 10 years from now, 15 years, 30 years from now? How would you be speaking to her? So speak to her that way. You got anything quick you'd like to give for women?
Look at what your husband is doing, not what he's not doing.
Yeah.
Because when you show gratitude for the things that he is doing, sometimes you forget how hard your husband works. And one of the big things that I see is that women feel that they're not being recognized for the parenting and the household stuff. Well, on the same note, you might not be actually recognizing and showing gratitude to your husband for going out and making the money. He might feel like his hands are tied because he's working a 9 to 5 or he's working 14-hour shifts. So both of you, somehow you've lost each other. He's not recognizing how difficult it is to raise your children and how difficult it is to have a clean home. You can only see the back of this house, thank goodness. And you forget to thank him for bringing home the paycheck, for going to work even when he feels sick. So he comes home and he doesn't take care of the children, and you get upset rather than being thankful in those moments. So notice the things that your husband is doing and show gratitude.
And one final thing for, I think, both men and women, you know, do it because you do love and care. Don't go looking for it. You know, you praise me almost every day for being a good dua. That's what we say for daddy. But you praise me for that, even though I'm providing more. And then I come home and well, actually, a lot of times you've had a hard day with the kids, right? And so she's like, do it. I don't look at that like disrespect. My wife needs a fucking break. You know what I mean?
Our kids are crazy.
Our kids are little tornadoes. Well, we have 2 tornadoes in a hurricane. And so, you know, embrace the opportunity to be partners that way, because there's so many other ways that you'll come in and swoop in and take over as a partner towards me when I need a break or when I'm struggling.
Partnership, guys. Partnership. Stop doing the tit for tat. Recognize the good things, but stop keeping score. You said that a second ago for the other things.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. We're going to talk about communication is not key.
Bye.
Bye.